sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Welcome to Life, Faith, and Everything Else with host, Pastor Justin Carrier. Stay tuned for life lessons, biblical truth, with random stories and conversations.
All right. Welcome everybody back to Life, Faith, and Everything Else. We're so glad you guys tuned in again today. We have a special guest with us. We got old Grant Lowe, old G Lowe, up here in the house today. CEO and founder of Mission 44 and longtime friend.
That's right.
What's up, man?
Right. What's going on?
I don't know.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, man.
Super cool little studio y'all got going.
I know, right? Well, it's all thanks to old Tomboy over there in the corner.
Man.
Tom.
It's going to get good.
Oh, it's going to get good. This is going to be great because you guys have known each other longer than I've known Grant. Y'all used to roll together, I think Grant and I really kind of started getting closer like after he'd done met Jesus.
Oh, look,
yeah, closer, not knowing.
When me and Grant were rolling around, Jesus was there.
Oh, yeah.
He was there.
He had to be there.
100%.
Because y'all are still here.
There.
Yeah,
Man.
he definitely caught me when I came out. It's been holding me ever since.
Me too, brother.
He dropped me a couple times, but
Well, it
he
happens.
fixed it.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, today we're just going to kind of get into, we wanted to have Grant come on, and we'll get more into, probably in a latter episode, more into kind of what Grant's doing now with Mission 44 and what Mission 44 does and all that, and which we'll definitely touch on it, I'm sure, because it's obviously a part of his story now, so we'll get into that. But really just kind of wanted to, the whole purpose of this podcast was to just kind of show everybody that, hey, we're just normal, everyday people that have a story to tell, that just kind of share like how where God brought you from, how He got you to where you are. I mean, I know that's it's quite a story. Well, like the first part, like the first time we recorded one of these, like Tommy was like, "Man, just tell everybody about yourself." And so the first one we ever did, of course, we didn't post it, but it was an hour.
Will live somewhere.
Yeah,
forever.
It will.
I promise.
It will never make it out into the sphere.
We started. There I was. We started at Justin's conception. That's what it was.
And there I was, coming through the canal,
all the way up to present day.
At Princeton Medical Center.
All the way up to present day.
Yeah. So the story can get rather long real quick. Yeah, because we talked for like an hour and a half, and it felt like 20 minutes.
Well, I looked down, and it was long.
Yeah.
It was really long.
It was.
Yeah, it's amazing how when you get started and start sharing kind of what's going on in your life, and it's easy to do because obviously it's your life and you lived it, and it's easy to drum up that you can just really go and go and go and go.
Well, you got so many like avenues that you can go down, from motorcycle stuff to having your own business, to obviously running the way many of us used to run, to even like the situation you brought before, like living with your brother who struggled with he's blind, right?
Yeah, well, he's legally blind, so he can see a little bit, but obviously it's a major disability for him.
Yeah. So I mean you've got like, and then of course your dad, he had cancer too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Y'all had the same cancer?
No, our cancer was totally different.
Was it?
Yeah, which was kind of strange, but
yeah,
he had a cancer battle, a really serious one. Stage 4 was counting him out, and God took care of that.
I know,
just like He did with my cancer. So
I just remember, as I say, Tommy, same way.
Here.
Yeah, no doubt.
How'd you find out you had cancer?
I knew I had cancer. And that sounds really weird, but I knew I did. And I just willed myself for a long time in thinking that I'm good. And it really came down. I was leaving the bank one day, and my phone rings, and it was my doctor. And I answered the phone. They said, "Hey, you got an appointment tomorrow." And I said, "No." My dad's name is James, and my first name is James. And I said, "No, I think you got the wrong James Lowe." And the nurse said, "No, your mom called and set it up." So, and I was like, "Well, I'm in my 40s. My mom's calling."
Nope. Look, go through your story, and I'm gonna let you know about how I figured my stuff out. My mom's involvement.
Well, obviously I leaked to my mom, or I actually leaked to my dad that I was having some issues, and he shared it with mom, and then mom lost it and called the doctor because she knew I wouldn't go, and basically it saved my life.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, because I said, okay, well, if she's went this far, I'll go. And I went and ended up having a colonoscopy done. And then sure enough, when they woke me up, they told me, I had colon cancer, and it was serious, and it was immediate attention needed to be. And I had surgery, and foot of my colon was removed. And, it was a serious ordeal. It had protruded my colon, which is bad. It usually from that point, it connects to other organs, and, you're working with a time frame then. And, thank God that I guess like the rest of my life, if you could cut it any closer,
God,
you can't cut it any closer.
Come on.
I'm here's 2 years later, and now I'm going constantly in scans and blood work and stuff like that. But so far, man, God's gave me some more time to rock out.
The
You
wildest
still have
thing.
the oncology appointments like.
Oh yeah, I just had
Regularly.
one last week.
Yeah. Because the wildest
You can
thing
see the
about
end of the light.
that whole story, after, Grant had kind of shared publicly, what he was going through.
Yeah.
And it was like not long after his surgery, this fool was going to run 100 miles,
Yeah.
for doing the Mission 44 stuff, he's, to raise money for the kids. And I was like, are you serious?
Look,
This
we're in
Cracker
a
Jack?
small town, man. I mean, everybody really knows everybody. And it just starts trickling downhill that Grant Lowe's going to run 100 miles. What?
Yeah.
Grant Lowe's running 100 miles?
And then he turns around and rides a mountain bike 1,000 miles.
Well,
It's like, I'm like, this dude is a machine.
what I've learned is, if God puts something on your heart, then you're good.
Yeah.
Like
right.
don't
true.
listen to any outside noise or influence or anything, because obviously I was 5-6 weeks out of a resectioning of my colon, had my guts taken out, if you will. And I did. I planned to run 100 miles on foot for these kids. And I mean, just to be honest, the first, I would say probably 40 or 50 miles, I felt like I was going to mess myself.
Yeah.
I mean, my guts was like, what are you doing? You're going to fall out.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up running 150 miles.
Yeah.
And just to say, hey, God's going to do what you can't do. So,
Amen to that.
Yeah.
and then more.
That
which
was
is
one. That was
what
one
he
of those.
did.
That was one of those David Goggins moments. He went straight David Goggins on everybody.
And every time I take a step towards him a little bit more, when he puts something like that in front of me, obviously my faith grows.
Yeah.
And it just makes me believe more and trust more and lean more. And the more you trust, the more you lean toward him, the more he
You get
speaks
strong,
to you.
man. You get so strong.
And he
It's-
uses you.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like boom, boom, boom. And people will question, like, how do you do that? How do you do that? I don't do anything.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I tell people
don't
all
do
the time.
nothing.
Yeah, and it's like building blocks, because like you learn how to trust him in that, and then when it goes exceedingly above what
Yeah.
you ever thought, you know what I mean? Then you're like, well, man, if I can trust him with this, what'll happen if I trust him with this? You know what I mean? Like then you start kind of exploring into that stuff, and you're like, man, I really can trust God.
Sky's the limit.
He really does come through.
Literally.
You know what I mean? Literally, the sky.
It really
Literally.
Quite literally. Yeah.
Here I come.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to tell you, when I figured out, like you said, you knew. So did I. I knew. I was sitting on my couch, and you've been to the house before watching TV. And, I mean, I had testicular cancer, and I knew something was wrong. I mean, because you know how guys do. They're going to scratch. It's just being real.
Yeah.
Be real,
And-
Tom.
and-
Be real.
And, it's not that I was ashamed, man. I just, being a dude, you're supposed to be there, and it's kind of hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah.
And I waited probably 6-8 weeks, and I knew in my head, like you said, you did, and I called my mom one morning. I was going out towards Jasper, and I got to hurting so bad it made me sick. And I called Mom because, like you said, you know, your mom's always going to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless.
Mama's
no matter.
boy.
Yeah. And I had an appointment within a couple of weeks. I was diagnosed. But I remember, it's funny now. It wasn't funny then.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
No, you're about to. Let me get done. So Christy tells me, you going to call Brad and Derek and him, tell them? I was like, yeah. Guess I'll call them. Because my surgery was like the next day. Called Derek. Oh, man, you're kidding. That's a terrible joke. You know what day it was? April 1st.
Oh, man.
Oh man!
Look, call Brad.
I can
Talk about
almost
terrible timing.
Call
I
Brad.
can almost figure what
you're like,
Brad
the
was gonna
fact that they thought that I would joke about something like that is, I really wanted to punch him in the face. But I'm gonna tell you what, them cats were there the next day, and the first voice I heard when I come to was James Spann. I come to in the recovery, and it was James Spann on the TV telling everybody, "This is about to get bad." And I was like, "Man, on top of all this, I just been cut from."
That's why Tommy loves James Spann so much. They're
Man,
friends. Hey,
I'm
they're friends on Slack and stuff.
Man,
it's about to
look,
get
I'm gonna tell you, it's
bad.
about to
James
get
messages.
real. James, is awesome dude.
Oh yeah, I love James Spann.
He likes my pictures.
He does.
Yeah, he actually's commented on a few of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I always tell
Pretty
people
cool about
that, you know, like, of course, in Alabama, for those of you that listen and watch, if you're not from Alabama, James Spann is our local weatherman that everybody trusts and relies fully. And, you know, it's kind of one of those deals, like, people are like, it's getting bad. I'm like, James still got his coat on? They're like, he still got it. I was like, it ain't bad yet.
Evan would tell us when he was little, he's like, you know, James Spann comes to school, he works for God. I'm like, you know what, dude? He really does.
Well, yeah, I guess. He's learned how to read the sky.
Man.
It's getting bad.
It is getting
James,
bad.
is it bad?
Is it bad?
Good.
If I
I'm
ever
ready to
see
go.
him
Man,
with his shirt
hey.
completely off,
I was about to say.
I'm going to start digging.
Completely.
It
He's
is
grabbing the camera.
Armageddon.
Under your bed. It's over.
It is friggin' Armageddon. If James Spann ever comes out of his shirt.
You remember being back in school, too. You know, they'd be like, all right, get in the hall and
Put your head between your legs.
Put your head between your legs. And you're an
yeah.
adult now, and you're like, man, what was that going to do?
What's it going to do? Of course, you know what everybody used to say.
Maybe when you got sucked out the roof and you hit the water out
Yeah,
there,
just
ditch,
like a
it's
bowling
cannonball.
ball.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I
Tuck
was
and
built
roll,
like a
Grandma.
bowling ball anyway, so I was just
too.
going to tumble.
I mean, first of all, I can't bend down that far.
I was gonna say, you
I'm just
can't
going
get
to
in
put
that spot.
my hands over my face. Oh
I
yeah.
hope this works out.
Yeah, of course, you know what everybody used to say, you know, put your head between your legs and kiss your butt goodbye, because that's what's fitting to happen. All of us fitting to get sucked right out of this hallway.
Hey,
tell you what.
there's been many a times on racing that motorcycle where I have went over the bars and saw my butt pass me.
Man.
Hey, where are you going? Wait a minute. And then you wake up at the hospital.
Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, hold on. I got a question. What's the scariest thing you saw in the desert besides all those flat
Yeah,
tires?
we touched on that briefly last week, talking about you doing your ride from LA to here.
How many miles?
And just so everybody knows, we're talking about a ride from LA to Birmingham on a 50cc motorcycle. It is 50, right?
No, it was a 150.
Oh, it's a 150.
It's a
Okay,
little
I thought it was
bit bigger,
50.
but it's still a little.
Still, it's a little bitty, but 150. But
It's still a motorcycle
little
that somebody looks
scooter.
at.
bro,
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the
Dumb
week,
and Dumber for sure.
like the week before Grant goes out there, I meet him over at the birthday party. And I was like, hey, man, I said, you know, we were talking about it. And I said, I was like, you got it all mapped out where you're going to go? He was like, nah. He was like, I was like,
have
you
no
just going to,
plan.
I was like, you just going to show up? He's like, yeah, I'm going to ship the motorcycle out there. I'm just going to show up and get on it. I was like,
That's right.
well, all right then.
Dude, that was so awesome.
Oh man,
That was cool. It really was.
You're talking about a situation where literally this was God's idea from start to finish. Obviously,
Yeah.
one because He chose me.
That's right.
I'm the no plan man. Like I've never planned anything. There is no plan B. You know, that's just it. We're just going.
Well, when you don't start with a plan, how's there going to be any other? You know.
You know, I didn't. So I just honestly had this feeling last year, like this is what I'm going to do. And I don't know where it came from, but I'm going to ride a motorcycle across the country. But I'm not going to ride any motorcycle because people do that all the time. People ride motorcycles across the country. I'm going to ride a little bitty motorcycle.
The Thundercat.
The Thundercat. And it just fell into place. It's amazing how God works. So I'm searching for a bike, and I'm just going to take my own money and buy a bike and go for it. Well, a friend calls me up, says, hey, come eat lunch with me. I was like, okay. I go meet him, and it's a guy named Tommy that owns Max Motorsports, and he says, hey, listen, I caught wind of your idea about riding across the country on a small bike. And he's like, man, it kind of hurt my feelings that you didn't, ask me to help. And I was like, well, you've helped me in the past with the off-road stuff. Like, I don't want to just badger you about every idea that comes up. And he's like, well, you think you can do it on that? And he points at this bike, and I look over at this little motorcycle. And I'll be honest, I'm just going to be real right here. My first thought was, I don't know if that thing will make it across the country. But of course, I didn't say anything because it was a true amazing blessing that he was willing to give a brand new bike off his showroom floor. So me being me, I was like, oh yeah, I can do it. I'm sure it will. Take the wheels off. I can do it. I don't even need those. Let's go. And so there you have it. There was the bike, and then another friend up the road from here, the Dirty Wizard, Smurf, he paints. My man, Smurf. Yeah, and he's like, man, I'm going to paint this thing up for you, dude. I'm going to make it however you want it. Let's make it cool. And so I pretty much tell him, hey, I want it to be green. I want gold in it. I want this thing to look like a 70s bass boat. Nailed it. He nailed it. He did. Nailed it. And so now it's custom painted. Well, another guy comes in, Stuart, that makes custom seats for him, and sees it and catches wind of what's going on. Hey, I'm going to build him a seat. So then we get a seat built, And another friend, Scott, he helps me fabricate a rear rack to hold all my luggage and stuff on the back. And it just fell into place. Another guy named Mike works for a freight company. He's like, hey, I'm going to ship the bike out there. You don't need to ride it out there. You need to ride it here.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it was just like, God was like, I've already got this set up, dude. Just keep moving forward. Yeah. That's all I need you to do is keep moving forward. And the whole thing just fell into place. I had already had a paid ticket flight because I broke my collarbone in January.
Like 30 minutes before you were about to do that.
I was supposed to be going snowboarding, and so that ticket was just sitting there. I was like, well, I'll just use that ticket, and fly out there.
So it was all perfectly laid out.
Yeah, man, it was amazing. And so, I literally never planned anything, and everybody asked me the same thing. So what route you taking? What's your fuel mileage? You know where you're going to be, this, that, and the other, and when you're going to be there. And I was like, man, I have no idea.
I'm going to show up and ride.
Let's get it.
I don't know. Like, I'm excited.
Y'all remember that movie Dirt Bike Kid?
That's it. Oh, yeah. And I literally, that's the way it was. I hadn't even put all that stuff that I took on the bike yet. Like, I came out of the hotel in front of the airport in Los Angeles early one morning after I got the bike, and I was like, I had bungee cords and some straps. I was like, this is a lot of junk.
Nobody in LA has ever seen a bungee cord or a strap.
Man.
Not being carried by somebody from 100 miles away can tell you're from Alabama.
Dude, that was the coolest part.
Hey, that joker fell off the turnip truck.
Man,
y'all see that guy down there?
Every place I went into, I completely introduced myself everywhere I went. Yeah. I was like, what's up, everybody? I'm Grant. I'm from Alabama.
Say yellow. Can you say yellow for me?
Greenbow, Alabama.
Oh, man. It was a shock. Everywhere I went, people were shocked. They were like, oh, God, what? This guy's from Alabama. And, it was a different thought from everywhere. Some people thought I was just going to start lynching people right there.
Wow. Yeah,
and
the bad part about it is Alabama has that stereotype.
Still.
Oh, yeah.
And South to my dying day, I can promise you, I will do my best to break that.
Man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I did that the whole way across because everybody I talked to that was willing to open up and have a conversation with me, I dumped it on them.
Yeah.
I shared what I was trying to do, obviously, and what I was about with Mission 44, but I also shared my life and how it transpired and how it got to the place it was. And by the end of every conversation I had with somebody, you could see it. There was a revelation there.
Right.
There was an understanding
that
there,
happens.
and there was a change there. When I got back and I went immediately the next day when I got back and raced a 24-hour race on the dirt bike.
Because
And
why slow down?
That's
No.
right.
yeah, no, don't stop while it's hot.
Hit the gas.
That's right.
Don't stop while it's hot.
Don't cool it off.
That's right.
And so we took the bike to Barber's Motorsports, and because it was a small bore weekend, and I left it up there. And while I was at the 24-hour race, I get a text from a friend of mine that's at the Barber's with the bike.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, this couple just came by, and they gave a $100 donation, and they said they met you on the ride. I was like, oh man, that's cool. Where at? He's like, Utah.
Hello, Utah.
Right.
That's so awesome, though.
From Utah down to the Birmingham.
Yeah, it's amazing, how that transpired. But something, and I remember the couple, we were talking in a parking lot at a steakhouse, and it's just something transpired right there in the parking lot while we were communicating that resonated with them, and they followed up on it, and it was amazing.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Well, just like
Wonder
you
how
say.
far Utah is away from Alabama.
It's a good gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good gap.
It's a good little ways.
Didn't you go through Utah? You should know.
I stayed in Utah an extra day just because it was so beautiful and so amazing.
Man.
Oh, yeah. I
Like,
saw the pictures and the videos and all the stuff.
You'd see
Grant's
two or
like,
three really
I'm
cool
gonna set my
pictures.
phone up here on top of this really tall rock and jump in this river.
You'd see really
floating down the Colorado
cool
River.
pictures, and then every 2 or 3 cool pictures you'd see got another flat.
Oh,
Got another
yeah,
flat.
Yeah.
What
Man.
state was that in?
That was in Texas.
That
and no disrespect to Texas. Well, I love you, Texas. Actually going to Texas in a couple weeks to race, but
That's what I'm talking about.
I was so ready to get out of Texas. I wanted to be done. And what's amazing was that's where God really did something amazing on that ride was in Texas. So I'm cruising along in the middle of nowhere, and it's like I'm looking dead into the biggest hair dryer you've ever seen in your life, and somebody's standing behind it throwing sand in it, and it's just chunking it in my face.
Riding through hell, literally.
Literally, lake of fire.
God,
I'm
I
in it
couldn't
right
imagine.
now.
What's your
And
top speed? Lay that out right now.
I was hanging around like 58, 59, somewhere in there. So I had her skint back. Now, when a headwind would hit, 38, 40.
Yeah.
It killed it. Yeah, I mean, there's no low end torque there.
I
It was
love the
dead.
term skint back on a 150.
That's right.
I had her, that was downhill coming through the canyon.
That's right.
But so I'm cruising along, and the wind's blowing so hard that I'm literally, the bike's leaned sideways to go straight down the road because the wind is so hard in my face. And something cut the tire. And obviously the humongous pile of supplies I had on the back, it was like a sail. And I just,
Oh, man.
right off the side of the road, down through the cactus tumbleweeds.
Oh, man.
And that's when the dirt bike skills kicked in and I saved it.
All right.
Thank goodness.
Thank you, God.
Yeah, I was about to say, or God.
That would have been a terrible ending to a great story. But
You lying.
this young man shows up, and I've got it popped up. I realize I've got a flat. I've got a little hand pump, and I've got some plugs, and I'm hoping like I'm going to spin this thing. There's going to be a nail or a screw. I'll pull it out, plug it, and we're going to be all good to go. And this young man pulls up, and he gets out, and he's super nice. He's like, hey, man, can I help you? Can I help you do anything? And I said, well, I ain't sure yet. I'm not really sure what I got going on. So he stays, and we're having this conversation, and he starts asking, what's Mission 44? What are you doing? Why are you on this little bike? Like, this is crazy. Like, what's going on?
This whole situation.
And he's like, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going to Birmingham. He's like, Alabama? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, that's a long ways away.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not as long as it was a week ago.
That's right. That's right.
But we have this amazing conversation, and then obviously I realized that I can't fix this tire you know, I'm just going to shove some plugs in it and limp it down the road. And, but in that moment, this young man shares his life with me. He shares like what he's been going through and how he just lost a friend in college, and he kind of dropped out and was like just floating. He didn't really know where to fit in this world and all that stuff, you know. And in that process, it was like God was using that moment. And so I plugged the tire, and I leave him, you know, on a good note. I go a couple miles down the road, the plugs fly out. I'm same situation off the road. I'm sitting there. Another guy shows up, and it was the same boat. I share a story with this guy, and I'm plugging and fixing. It takes 45 minutes to air this tire up because I got a hand pump.
Oh, man, yeah.
It's terrible. It's a massive workout. But by the third guy, I ended up doing this with like 5 different fellas. By the third guy, this is like a 6-hour process of getting to the next town with this flat tire.
Wow.
By the third guy, I was like, I had a smile on my face. I was like, okay, God, I got it.
Because you realize what was happening.
I see you, God.
That's right.
I am in a hurry. I'm bebopping across Texas like a madman, and I'm just making tracks. And you've got an actual mission. You actually have a job for me to do here.
Somebody's slowing you down.
Yeah.
Bro.
And he's like, you're not going to stop.
It's a divine slowdown.
I can't. I can't let you flop because I need you to finish the ride. But you're going to have to slow down and stop.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody.
And that'd be a good sermon. Divine slowdown.
And then that's what it was.
Put that one in the books, Tommy.
I shared a story with multiple men, and it literally came down to I was in Tractor Supply parking lot at 8:45 at night. They close at 9. I have no idea at this point. It's Saturday night. Obviously, there's no motorcycle shops open. And to be realistic with you, even if there was one open, they're not going to have that oddball tire for this little mini bike I'm on.
Sure, guy, I got this.
And I was like, it'll work out. It always does.
That's right.
I go into Tractor Supply. I'm going to just buy a wagon wheel. I'm going to buy a trailer wheel, and I'm going to mount this thing up, and we're just going to go for it, you know. My North Johns comes out of
That's
Anthony,
right.
you know,
There you go. That's right.
North Johns.
That's like a Swiss Army knife in your pocket. That's,
Duct tape
that's
galore.
skills nobody will ever have.
Oh, yeah.
Unless they live there.
And a little bit of, you know, Aquavelva Valley Creek.
There you
That's
go.
right. That high karate.
That's
That
it.
dog food plant.
That on the money.
That's right.
So I'm in there, and I have this tire, and I'm going to the counter. I'm fixing to pay for this tire and pray that it works. And I look over and I see tubes, and I'm like, oh, if they got a 12-inch tube, I can make this happen.
That's right.
Lo and behold, there's a 12-inch wheelbarrow tube. I buy this wheelbarrow tube.
What you talking about?
Go out the door. They lock the door behind me, so it's no turning back.
Yeah.
There's no returns at this point. I take that wheel off in the parking lot and just dismantle my life and take up 2 parking spots with all this stuff because the tools are in the bottom of the bag.
Wait, I remember seeing that picture.
Oh, yeah. My underwear,
remember seeing
everything's just blowing across the parking lot. You know?
Tumblewear at that point.
Yeah, it was total tumblewear. And I put that tube in there, I pump it up, put it all together, and take off, man. And that thing, I rode that thing another 1,200 miles.
On a wheelbarrow
On
tube.
a wheelbarrow tube.
God held that thing
Glory
together.
to God.
You ain't lying.
I mean, in the dictionary, if you look up grace, it should have a picture of me in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am
Should have a
literally
Well,
had
I
it
mean,
poured.
we are in
I
the
was about to
presence
say,
of God's top 25. So.
Yeah, that's true.
What'd you
God's
say?
top
You might
25.
be 25th,
Yeah.
but I'm in the top 25.
And I'm not afraid to say that at any moment.
And absolutely, you shouldn't be.
And I probably did 100 times coming across the country. Everybody I met, I was like, I'm from Alabama, but I am in God's top 25. So just gonna lay that out front. in front
Just
of
get that out of the way right now before
right.
you even start
I'm
talking.
holding firm to 25. Tight.
Before
That's
you
right.
start talking, you put some respect on it. Because I'm God's top
That's
25.
right.
I'm God's top 25.
But you know what? So no plan, no route, no direction, no backup plan, no nothing. I had a little, I used to call them big squeeze, but it was just like a little water bottle that you use for sports.
That's what I'm.
That's
That's a big squeeze.
Yeah.
That's we're a product of the '80s.
Yeah.
That's
And I just put some gas in it, and I had it shoved in the side. So I was like a moving mobile bomb, really going down across the desert.
well, you wasn't going but 50, so I mean, you'd have just stopped if you'd hit something.
I had fireworks with me too, but
Oh man,
Golly,
that's right.
He really was a mobile bomb.
I never go
that-
anywhere without fireworks. I have fireworks in my underwear
Doesn't
drawer.
say Alabama.
There's a lot of people that go that say, I don't go anywhere without my phone, my wallet, my flashlight, my knife, my whatever. Grant Lowe doesn't go anywhere without
Get
fireworks.
Grant Lowe in here. Yeah.
I do not. There's never a moment I don't have a firecracker
Hey,
with me.
can you score my lunch? I don't have. I left my wallet at home, but I do have these firecrackers, these Roman candles.
I will trade you 2 Roman candles for a honey bun.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good trade,
That is
depending
pretty
on
good
if
trade.
the
If it's-
establishment has a microwave.
Well, if
or
it's
not.
one of those
some
like
butter.
well, it
that's
depends.
right.
Is it a 4-shot Roman candle or is it one of them, jumbo 8, 9 shots?
Well, at this point, he's got gas, a wheelbarrow tire, wheelbarrow tube,
Wheelbarrow tube, yeah.
Beef jerky
gas
and
and a big
pistachios.
squeeze, fireworks, a wheelbarrow wheel, and beef jerky.
Yeah.
And here we go. We're going.
And Jesus.
And Jesus.
Yeah, so
amen to
like
that.
I said, Jesus pretty much fills all the stuff that you can't do.
Oh yeah.
So I show up. I show up with very little, and he shows up with a lot.
That's right.
Man,
Pretty much how that goes.
ain't that the truth?
Hey, we're 2 fish and 5 loaves. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
So I make it back home, and I cut some stops out and that I was wanting to do in the South, but it was important for me to finish the ride,
Right.
to do it what I set out to do on my own. I didn't want anybody to have to come get me or anything like that. And there was tons of people that was like, "Hey man, we'll just come pick you up,"
Right.
which I'm very thankful for. But at the same time, it's like, no, this is what we set out to do. This is what we said we're going to do,
Finish.
and this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And God made a way with the tube, obviously, to do that, and we did. And so many amazing things came from that ride, not just donations and things like that, but just being able to share God from here, from coast to coast. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that is cool.
And to do it in just random places with random people, just to
That he
drop a
put there.
seed here, seed there. Yeah.
He put them.
He put them right there in position. And, it was really cool to be the driver of that bus, for him to allow me to be a part of that. It was so cool.
yeah.
And the fact that, I literally was talking, when we first started, we were supposed to be talking about how, my relationship with God came about. But what's amazing is how God has used my life and my passion,
Right.
and turned my passion into my purpose.
Yeah.
And, obviously I'm 43 years old. It's taken a lifetime to get there. But wow,
Well,
how
see,
amazing is it?
I think that's so kind of, I think it's important and powerful, the statement you just made. Is because so many people think that, if I'm going to be a Christian or, if I have this relationship with God, like I've got to be something different, like I've got to change, or I've got, like Tommy and I've talked about, like God's going to change your heart. Like you're not going to live the same way you did, but like everything that makes you,
It's a
all that
process.
stuff, which it was his to begin with, but all that stuff then he takes and he says, now you're going to understand why I gave you these passions, these desires. Like Tommy and I was talking about, like with him and photography and videography and stuff. Like obviously now, everything
are.
we're doing. You know what I mean?
Reaching people
15 years
because of
ago,
that. Yeah.
10, 12 years ago, I would say, I'm standing in the middle of Birmingham with a camera by myself.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I like it. And I know that this is something that I want to do. This, kind of like you in motorcycles. Man, I've been around this stuff ever since the early age. My dad doing it, just had a hobby and doing things. everybody, there's an Easter egg in the room if you watch on YouTube
Oh yeah.
and you listen to the first
There it is,
episode.
yeah.
You can tell. There we go, right there.
Easter egg.
but
Camera
it's-
one.
You don't have to, man. You ain't got to be any certain way, man. I've thought a million times, and I've prayed a million times. Been, all right, God, I'm 100%. And the post I made last week, man, I'm gonna give you. I'm in 100%. And a month down the road, I'm giving me 60%, and God a half-hearted 40%, if that much. But you know who's still there?
Yeah.
God.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's
God picks me up, man. I'm gonna talk about every morning. Every morning he wakes me up. I'm so thankful, but he also leaves it up to me.
Yeah. Well, there's still the choice, like you still have to make the choice,
Yeah.
to pursue him and to and do what he says, in everything that you do, do it to glorify and honor God in everything you do, that's still a choice you had to make. But I just think that whole, people need to get that understanding, like, man, the things you're passionate about, the things you like to do, the things that that really draw you in. Like, those are there for a reason, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
you're
that's
passionate about riding motorcycles. And my whole life, obviously, I grew up in church, but I have always loved church. You know what I mean? Like, I loved being on the worship team. I loved doing all that stuff, and I used to travel with Dad when he would preach,
But
and
do
I
you
would
think God gave you the parents that you have for a reason
absolutely.
to put you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. But how many 13-year-olds do you know that are, traveling across the country with their dad? And why, I was the one sitting on the front row wearing a suit, and Dad's up there preaching. I'm shouting him down off the stage, waving a handkerchief at him. You know what I mean? Like, like I was that into it, and obviously that I tried to run from that passion at points in my life and fill it with other things. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, I'd rather do this, And but God always brings you back around. It's like, I know you would like to do that, but let's be honest, you really like this more.
and that's
You're a pretty good preacher.
That's the truth.
You're all right.
That's the
pretty
truth.
Don't
And it's
don't blow
easy.
me up now.
Yeah.
It's easy when you're working in your area.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's effortless when you're doing what you enjoy doing and you're passionate about doing, and what God has actually put inside of you. Your uniqueness when you're actually working in that field, it's so easy.
Yeah.
You don't even have to try. It just comes out naturally.
Yeah, well, that's what
It's
Tommy
that gift.
Tommy says. He's like, you said it in the first episode. Actually, he's like, you get pastor talking, pastor gonna talk.
Yeah.
I just because when we get into it, I love the Word of God. I love to study. Like, I don't just like memorizing Bible verses. I mean, like, I like to, in my mind, like, I consider myself a scholar of the Word. Like, I spend that amount of time studying it, like
Scholar.
yes, sir.
Well, I'm a scholar of the scooter.
That's
right.
And Tommy's a scholar of the camera.
Yeah.
And, and that's like we had talked about a couple weeks ago when I was here, how God puts people in position at the right time, just like with Tommy, being here with all this equipment and the knowledge and all this, he needed somebody with Tommy's ability and gifts to be here and to make this happen. Same way with you in this church, your timing there. My whole life has literally revolved around motorcycles.
Yeah.
Since before I can even remember, honestly, they've been on my mind. And when I was a kid, all I ever wanted to do, I'd go to the grocery store with my mom, and I'd sit in the little magazine section and read Dirt Rider magazine and stuff.
Tell us what grocery store it was.
Consumer grocery.
That's right. I was dumped off the
grocery.
sidewalk.
Bashmer, Alabama.
You remember how high those sidewalks were? They're like 9 foot tall. I was dumped out of a buggy by my nanny right on the pavement.
Oh, my
nanny.
God.
And there you go.
Well, there's a little poverty pocket in the back. It looked like you was either going to get some sausage or get mugged.
Yeah. And you get, as a kid,
or
you're
the
walking through there and you get burnt by a cigarette with some lady searching for onions.
Oh yeah,
They be smoking cigarettes about 9 foot long come out of there with 2 more
Hashed
cigarette
in a
burns
week.
than you had.
That's them old Virginia
went in there.
Slims, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
It didn't burn quite as bad. Them
Winston's back
Winstons
in
will burn you
NASCAR.
up.
Winston NASCAR
100,
models.
man. Oh yeah,
Man.
You
But-
got that old guy that had them rolled up in his sleeve.
Oh, yeah.
Just got fresh off of Vietnam.
That's right.
That's right.
Those were the Wild Bills.
Oh yeah,
That's
Bessemer.
right.
Wild Bills of Bessemer.
the Wild Bills and Albert Brady's. He's
But all I ever wanted to do was, and I would sit there and read these magazines, and I'd read about these articles about these guys, racing and winning these races, and how just amazing it was, and I literally fantasized about that, and that was going to be me, and that's who I was going to be one day, and this is it. And honestly, that's probably till I was in college or later. Those articles in those magazines was probably the only thing I ever read.
yeah.
I never read
I'm
anything
saying.
else.
Hey, then he
Never
probably
cared to.
Mine was thrashing, and I was too
Oh,
fat
yeah.
to skateboard, but I lived it. I lived it.
Oh, we went from
Man.
probably reading the dirt bike magazines to watching Krusty Demons.
Oh yeah,
Everybody used to watch
Yeah.
Krusty.
On any Sunday.
Yeah.
I used to argue with my mom. I'm like,
Oh,
look, this
man.
movie's on any Sunday. Dirt bike riding on Sunday.
Oh,
What's
man.
up? Wow, we got to go to church.
Anytime before, when I was younger, anytime before my brother and I would go ride motorcycles, we would always watch, Krusty Demons, or, of course, I think Travis Pastrana was coming on the scene. He was really young at that time. He was like 13, jumping rivers and
Double
crap,
backflip into
or
bowls
whatever.
of
Yeah.
Bro,
So we were watching
I grew
all
up
those and
riding
do that.
3-wheelers through Sunnydale.
Oh,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
So,
three-wheelers. Yeah.
I mean,
I was on the other
you
side. I
daredevil,
was on
you.
West
Yeah,
Wind
yeah,
on the
that's
three-wheeler.
Oh,
yeah.
Meet in the middle.
Talking about there's somewhere, and I'll
At
try
the
to
acid
find
pit.
that
The-
picture, and
the-
I'll put it on the Facebook page about
the
look,
Big
it's me.
Red?
No, well, my dad had a Big Red. I had a 70.
Oh,
And one of the first few times I ever ridden it, they had put up this fence in the back, and I was out there at Terry Cycle Center over there in
yeah.
Bessemer. That's right. Man, I got on that thing and I drove it straight through that daggone fence they had built. That front tire annihilated. Just
I think every young person that ever experienced a three-wheeler ran through a chain link fence. I think it was
this was
like
a wooden fence.
Oh,
this was like
I got up in the chain link.
yeah.
Man.
I
was
flipped
like,
a three-wheeler
tied
over
off
right here
there.
in the
look,
parking
you
lot
could
out
stand there and look at a 3-wheeler and it'd flip.
Oh yeah. Hey, we were coming down the street right here back before obviously the big building was here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were coming around that curve right there and flip that joker right off in that ditch right out there.
Man,
I mean, that thing would flip in a heartbeat.
you lived 33-wheelers in the 80s. You somebody, bro.
Oh, you ain't lying.
You done that? Baptized in Valley Creek.
Man.
Speaking of God keeping you safe.
You ain't kidding.
The cool thing is though, my parents worked so much.
Mine did too.
The opportunity for me to be a racer like I was seeing in the magazine was not even there.
Yeah.
And by the time I was old enough to get a driver's license and get a job, and I went straight to a motorcycle shop, got a job, saved my money for 6 months, bought a dirt bike that was raceable. I mean, you start racing at 16 years old, you're way behind.
Yeah.
You're not even gonna be in the realm. But at that point, I was just doing it because I loved it, and I wanted to do it, and I wanted to stay involved with it, and it was still something that really held strong in my heart. And so when I got to the point of trying to wrap up college, what am I going to do with college? Who am I going to be in my life? The only thing I cared about was motorcycles. So, being a 22-year-old man that is completely capable of doing anything he ever thought he could do, I go, I'm going to open up a shop. I can do this. This is nothing. It's a piece of cake.
I remember when you was starting out up there.
It was crazy. And I did that. And it was a humongous leap of faith. But back then, it was a little bit more of just wild, bold.
I'm 22.
Full of myself.
Yeah.
And I, kind of deal. But God saw me through that. And what's amazing is, fast forward 20 years of being and growing and changing and developing a true relationship with Jesus in that process of being a business owner and dealing with the public and people and the ups and downs of the economy and how just all the madness of it, I walk away from that, and now all I do is exactly what that little 8, 9, 10-year-old kid wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's right.
Ride motorcycles every day.
And that's awesome.
That
dude.
is awesome.
That's
Man,
all I do.
20 years ago, did you ever think we'd be in a room together?
20 years
in
ago.
a church, talking. What was we doing 20 years ago?
I wouldn't. I was talking, but it wasn't worth hearing.
Yeah, I know how. Yeah, same.
And you know, the crazy thing is, I mean, so much of that, I never thought I would retire. As far as like job wise.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there is no retirement. You know, you continue to work and do and try to, you know, like right now, you know, I'm
man,
working to help
people hope.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to help other people, and I'm trying to be productive, and I'm trying to give more back to this world, you know, and instead of taking from this world. So I want to be, you know, I want to be a light for God in this world. But I never thought that at 43 years old, actually 42 at the time, that I would be able to give up something that I created that
you cared so much about.
That I cared everything about, and that I would be able to walk away from it at my age and be able to live.
Right.
And it honestly came down to the moment where, you know, God was like, okay, you know this is your purpose. I've put this in you. You feel it.
Yeah.
Mission 44 is created. It is, doors are flinging open in front of you. You know this is happening. But you have something over here that you love dearly that is not allowing this to grow.
Yeah.
And are you willing to make that sacrifice?
Yeah.
You know, and it was literally a moment like, drop your nets.
Yeah.
You know, leave your boat and walk away.
Yeah.
And as soon as I made the decision that, hey, I'm done with the shop, I'm done with the store, I'm going to pour my heart completely in to Mission 44 and these kids and these families and what God has for me. I'm going to go down this road, these doors he's opened. That was it.
Yeah.
There was no looking back. There was no regret. There's no sadness. There's no sorrow. I don't miss that store 1 ounce, one little bit.
It's a new chapter, man.
But I have not struggled.
Right.
There has been no struggle. It has literally worked out. And honestly, like the rest of my life, there's no plan. I have no plan. I don't plan it out, but I don't worry with it.
No.
I've given it to God. It is not in my hands. This is his will. I'm along for the ride, and I'll ride it till it sees its end. But I'm not stressed. I don't stress over finances. I don't stress over, you know, how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that, how we're going to help people, whatever, how we're going to reach people. He puts people in front of me. He puts me in situations and the setup that he sees fit, and I'm willing to go.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like the biggest thing with all of it, though. You know, like you said, you had to get to that point where you're just like, hey, you know, I know this is my calling, but I got something over here that's kind of, you know, whatever. And I think that's it. Like there's always going to be, and I think this kind of goes in with, you know, most areas of life. Anytime you're doing that, making those decisions and doing things, there's always going to be like that temptation that tries to keep you kind of over here in the safe zone or over here in the comfort zone, you know, because when you make a step out like that, I mean, you expose yourself, you know, and now you're open to, you know, anything happening to you because you don't have the comfort of that, you know, what you had built. You know,
that was my identity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not just my income,
right?
Not just what fed my family and took care of me.
I mean, that was you.
That was who I was. I mean, that's what I was known for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was my area, my comfort zone. And
like Riders Connection could have been just synonymous with Grant Lowe. I mean, because when you said the name Riders Connection, everybody knew who you was talking about.
And,
you know?
and everybody rode around Hueytown with them RC stickers on the back of their trucks too, man.
But, you know, as soon as I stepped out like that and was willing to trust God with that, I mean, he just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally did. And I mean, honestly, my life right now is absolutely amazing.
Mine too, bro.
And here's the thing, and I want to make sure I get this out. This is so important right here because a lot of people listening right now know me. And then for the ones who don't know me, I want to make some things clear. The ones who do know me they do know who I am.
Yeah.
They know where I've been. They know what I've done. They know what I still struggle with and still continue to do
Yeah.
at this moment.
Right.
You know, I am, I heard Steve Harvey say one time, I am an imperfect soldier for Christ or something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Man, I
and,
love Steve Harvey.
and that's
Yeah.
me, because I have literally, I'm not where, you know, my journey, true journey with Christ started about 9 years ago. I am nowhere near where I was then. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, same
But
here, man.
I am
Same
still
here.
way off of the spec. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no polishing. We're
Yeah.
still using some
yeah.
really rough sandpaper
Yeah.
right now to try to
That's an
straighten me out.
understatement too, man.
Yeah,
That's with me, too.
honestly.
Yeah.
But it's about the process and
Yeah.
the journey and the willingness to every day, regardless of the mistakes I make and the things that I do, getting up the next morning and saying, hey, God, I love you. Thank you. I'm still here. I'm still in this with you. I'm still riding with you.
right.
I still need you. I still trust you. And I still want you to fix me.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. You know, there was no cleanup. I mean, if you really get along the lines of, you know, I need to be cleaned up a little bit before I go to church or before I get involved with something like that, I'm still outside of the box.
Right. Yeah.
I still honestly don't need to be going
I
to church.
found out that was untrue pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, and that's just like you know, I've broken 29 bones and had 17 concussions. I don't go into the ER and think that when I leave the ER, I'm well.
Right.
I'm usually lining up surgery.
That's,
Or a race.
We're just starting the
Or a
process.
race. Let's be real.
I'm just starting the process.
Yeah.
So the same thing with my relationship with God and going to church. You know, it's been just a constant daily routine of spending more time with Him, communication wise. It hasn't robbed me from my passion. I ride more dirt bikes now than I ever did.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I still get out and do and meet people and hang out and listen to music and do all the same things.
Yeah.
But throughout the day, I'm constantly saying, hey, thank you, God. I appreciate that. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry about that. Or, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I
'cause
find myself doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
it's not empty anymore.
right.
It's
yeah.
not like, oh,
Yeah.
thanks, God. Man, when I talk to God, I'm talking about it's something else, man. Mm-hmm. It's something else.
See, because that was my thing, you know, because, like, you know, even though I grew up in and around church, you know what I mean? Like, I never, you know what I mean? Like, I got saved, you know, and I knew Jesus and everything
Yeah.
like that. And I had these, I would say, like, I had these experiences, you know what I mean? Like, throughout my, you know, childhood and stuff because I was exposed to it.
Right.
You know, but, like, when I went out on my own and joined the military and moved away from home and whatever, and then got around a different,
Yeah.
you know, environment, you know, like, things
All them rapscallions.
yeah, well, I mean, not even, and I was, and I would say
Got your
even,
sea legs.
and yeah, right, and I would say even before, you
Port to
know,
port,
when
that's
and I would say even before then, you know, what I mean, like I wasn't, you know, I mean, I wasn't living, you know, I wasn't living how, you know, how I knew I probably, you know, how I knew it should be,
Yeah.
you know, and then of course that just, you know, just got worse as time went on, and then moved away, and then, you know, all that stuff that comes with being in the military. I tell people all the time, I said, cussing like a sailor and drinking like a sailor. I said, those are real things. I said, you know, I always just thought they were statements people made. I was like, but I mean, no, it's true, you know, but, you know, because really, I didn't really you know, I mean, I'm the same way. I didn't really probably recommit or really like give myself fully over to God's plan until 2013. I mean, that was when I really was like, you know, when he called me, I was sitting on my couch in Florida and was getting ready to go to my next duty station.
You know what's crazy? That's really the same time for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's wild. Well, see, because that's
It's
what I say. I was
awful.
sitting on my couch in Florida, and we were getting ready to go to our next duty station in Dauphin Island. You know, of course, I loved being in the military. I mean, I always tell people, I was like, I was good at it, you know, you know, but, you know, so, but I was like, I remember sitting on my couch and like, just, I mean, like, and I haven't, there's not very many times you won't hear me say like, God said, You know what I mean? Like I will say things like, I feel like, you know, God's leading or pressing or, you know, something like that. But there's been few times in my life where I'm like, no, I heard him say, you know what I mean? And that was one of those moments. And like, all he said was, it's time to go home. I didn't know what that meant, you know? So like, I called my dad and I was like, hey, Dad, so I'm pretty sure I just heard God tell me, you know, like, and so we had this conversation, and Dad, you know, he wasn't pressing on it or nothing. He was like, well, I mean, I don't know what it means either. He said, but obviously you need to go home, where, you know, like,
Follow him, son.
you know? And so, I mean, and that's what happened, you know? So we did the same thing, step of faith. We just had a brand new house in Perdido Key, you know,
Dang.
brand new house. Wasn't even a year old, you know? And, wife was in nursing school. Job I had fell through 2 weeks before I got out of the military, so I didn't have a job. You know, finally found some people to move in our house, and we moved up here. Didn't have nowhere to live, living in my parents' basement. You know, like wife in nursing school. I took a job making $14.50 an hour, which was a tremendous pay cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No health insurance, no, you know, just nothing.
So much uncertainty.
So much uncertainty. You know, but I mean, just like, man, it was just like one after the other. I mean, God just every step of the way, like we never went without me. We always had a place to live. We always had a place to sleep. And, you know, like, and I went in for a job interview at FedEx Freight for a mechanic job. For those of you who don't know, I've been a mechanic forever. That was what I went to tech school for all that. That was the thing I tried to fill, was being a mechanic.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah, so.
No, you're not.
Yeah, so I went
I'm going to be a businessman.
Well, that's right.
No, you're not.
So I
You're
went to
no good at
FedEx
it.
Freight and applied for a mechanic job and was coming in at this entry level. They brought me in. It was like, you know, $17, which was obviously a jump from $14.50. And I went in for that interview and walked out, and the district manager from Memphis was there for my interview. And so they come out together and like, hey, I know we interviewed you for this mechanic position, but we want to make you the shop supervisor. And I was like, okay. And they was like, it's about $48,000 a year starting out. And I was like, that's a big jump from $14.50. I'll take it.
Yeah,
you know,
for
but
real. Sign me up.
I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, like, not like it was easy. I mean, I was working night shift, 10-hour days, and you know, I worked Sunday night, so I'd get up Sunday morning and preach and go home and try to sleep and everything. And then I started college right after that. So, I mean, it's not like it was an easy process. I think a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, it just sounds so easy. No.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like, no, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, but it's awesome because you get to watch God work around you. You know what I mean? Like, and Him provide for you every step of the way.
Yeah, just like the ride across the country, you know, you see the pictures of the amazing places I went, and, you know, it sounds like, wow, that's an amazing adventure. That's awesome. It was.
Yeah.
But I don't think people know what it's like to ride a scooter for 3,300 miles.
Probably
I promise
not.
you, I don't.
I know.
I guarantee you right now that it was not always awesome.
But that's right.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
people. Let me
Yeah.
tell you.
But I mean,
The
that's
stopping points and the pictures and the sitting in the Colorado River, that was amazing, beautiful. Thank you, Jesus. But the hours and hours and hours of hugging that seat,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what.
roasting
from my
like a
standpoint,
chicken
though,
at Popeyes. No,
From my standpoint, it was awesome.
Oh yeah.
It was absolutely
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. But that's
And if
my
I
whole,
have to live through you to ride 3,300 miles on a
absolutely.
mini bike,
Yeah.
you know, let's just call it as a mini bike.
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it is a mini bike,
Yeah.
100%.
Then I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna cheer you on every step of the way, man. I'm telling you.
But
There's probably a million pictures of me coming across the desert. I'm sure every family
There's
on
a random
SUV
hashtag
was like, "Oh, look
somewhere.
at this guy."
TikTok,
here."
Instagram, it's everywhere.
The guy on the baby bike.
Yeah. On the baby.
The green bean. Look at
Yeah.
go.
But I mean, talking about all that though, you know, and taking those risks, you taking your risks with your business, you know, me taking the risk, moving from Florida, not really having a plan, you know, and all this stuff, and just everything happening. The now that I am where I am in my relationship with God, and I'm like you. I mean, I wake up every day and I'm just like, man, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Because, man, I'll tell you, like,
have
and
you
I
not
say it all the
squashed me
time,
out
you know,
yet?
like, yeah, you know, like,
sure.
I really cling to that passage. You know, Jesus is like, blessed are those who are poor in spirit. I'm like, yeah, that's me, man. That's me, bro. Like, outside of you, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it means to be blessed outside of Jesus, you know? And I mean, because if I put my hands on it, I'm gonna screw it up. I put it to you, yeah,
Just a big old
I mean,
sloppy
just
mess.
straight up honest. You know, what I mean, like I made a mess of my life before. You know, I really like gave him control. You know, what
I mean, I still fight every day, try to screw my life up. Obviously, I mean, it's like
I mean, I always look back and think, you know, everybody's like, oh yeah, I don't look back. Man, I look back and wonder, why did I wait so long?
yeah.
Or maybe
That's a good question,
you know what?
too.
Maybe though it wasn't. I'm not going to say it was my time because God's always ready to receive me, or you know, or whatever. But like you said, it's a struggle when you're that way.
Yeah.
And not necessarily any certain way. It's just,
man, if there was any message that we could really get out to people right now, is come as you are.
100%.
100.
I mean, that was Nirvana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Come as you are, because just engaging in some kind of form of relationship with Christ
it'll
immediately makes your life better and grows and
Immediately.
changes,
Yeah.
and you will end up a better human being, a better person
For everyone.
for everyone,
Yeah.
for your family, for your
people see
friends.
that
the
change.
People come,
Sure.
yeah, and it's really that easy.
Yeah. And, you
That
know,
easy.
and that's the thing. And the more time you spend in it, the more time you spend in that relationship, it's like the better it gets as it goes. You know what I mean? Because you just, you know, everything's building up, and, you know, all these things are changing in your life. Your confidence changes. Everything changes. You know what I mean? Like just how you deal with. Yeah. I mean, like how
But
you,
also,
yeah. I mean,
and you
how
can
you
still be rock and roll too.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you
like,
totally can.
Yeah.
And, you know, just going back to what you said, why did I wait so long? Man, if I'd have moved on this a decade before I did,
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be having a conversation right now, probably talking about me riding a motorcycle across Antarctica or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Look, I
how
am
much
there for that.
further
Yeah.
along would I
Everybody,
have
look, we need to
been?
start a petition.
GoFundMe.
Look, I don't know if they make 12-inch spiked ice tires.
Oh,
but
we'll
we're gonna
make 'em.
find out.
We'll find it.
You know, there's something else that's very important too, because people will go immediately from, you know, I'm not ready to go to church, and I don't want to be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they hypocrite. Throw the hypocrite.
There's a
Let
lot
me
of
tell
them
you
out there.
something.
Church is full of hypocrites.
Well, look at me. I am a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I roll right
We
up
just
in
agreed
church
with you. Did you
with
hear
a
that?
hypocrite.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do. I mean, I stood in there and spoke to the congregation on Sunday. I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to say that, because I will leave here tonight and say or do something or think something, or something will happen that is not going to line up with what God has for me.
Right.
It's not going to, because I am imperfect. But I guarantee you tomorrow morning, I will pray. I will apologize. I will rely on God to guide my steps for
Bingo.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Period.
That's the thing
regardless
Justin
of
used
what
to
kind
tell
of
me. He was like,
fruit basket I am.
man, before, you know, you drinking and doing stuff and just partying, doing my thing. That was Tommy's thing. But now I know if I screw up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I instantly feel bad. Like, you know, it's,
Well, you
it's
It's that repentant heart.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's one of the biggest differences, you know, is that when you have this relationship with Jesus, that when you do those things, when you step out of step with the Spirit and with Jesus, you know it, because that's the Spirit inside of you is like, hey, whoa, hey,
you're
And it's
being a
just,
cottonhead and any muggins.
and that's what the Bible says, that He comes to convict and convince, you know. So
It's
then that's
accountability partner.
Oh yeah,
Jesus is my accountability
the
partner.
best
Accountability,
accountability,
Big time.
accountability.
He brake checks me all day long.
yeah.
He's like, hey, you
Same.
know, hey. But here's the thing. This morning, I've been going to 21 days of prayer, and this morning one of the big topics was, you know, hey, we want to seek revelation from God.
Yeah.
And 3 different formats. And the first one, the beginning one, which I think everyone really needs to long for, is to know the true nature. You know, have a revelation from God about the true nature of who God is.
Yeah.
So that you know Him, you have a personal relationship with Him, you understand Him, and in doing that, it frees you up to actually have a true one-on-one relationship where you're like, okay, He is not here to condemn me. He is not here to destroy me. He is not here to point a finger at me for my sins. He is not counting my sins on a piece of paper and holding me accountable over top of my head, saying you're never going to be good, you're never going to make it, you're never going to fare up. He literally has so much love above our understanding for us that He honestly looks at, well, He's not even looking at it, but for your sin's sake, the reason that He doesn't want you to sin is just so you don't lose track of what you're here for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for a purpose. He has put in me the love and desire of motorcycles and riding, and that is my platform. That is my areas of expertise and my people that I can reach and that I can talk to. And yeah, it's cool that I get to help these families at Children's Hospital, but it's really amazing that I get to share my story with my platform of people and help pluck a few of them out to connect them with Him so He can engage them in their passion and in their platform and ultimately get us all home. It's like a domino effect.
It sure is.
So if I just start cussing crazy right now on here, he's not. He's
I
not
got a beat button.
You got a beat. He's not just sitting up there going, "Oh, Grant's off the. I'm check. Oh, you're in detention."
Yep.
That's not what he's doing.
Done got a note sent.
He's up there going, "Hey, don't do that, because I need you to reach the people that are listening on the other end right now.
Yeah.
I need you to share my story." I tell people all the time, I had a struggle a long time about saying, yeah, I won a 24-hour race, or yeah, I did this, I did that, because I had the enemy in my ear on one side going, "Oh, you're tooting your horn. Oh, look at Mr. Pride. Oh, look, Bo, stick your chest out there a little bit. Just make yourself, you know."
Beanie Rooster.
And I would cower down sometimes and be like, don't say that, don't share that. And it was stuff that God was putting on my heart to share.
Yeah.
And then I finally got to this place where God was just like, "Hey, look, this ain't about you.
That's right. Yeah.
It really is not about you. I have created a story through you. This is my story.
Mm-hmm. You're just getting to live it.
Yeah.
You're getting the awesome rock star job of getting to live this story."
That's right.
And I want it shared.
Yeah.
And if I put it on your heart, I need you to share it, because there's somebody out there that I need to hear it.
Right.
And the ones that aren't listening, that's not for them.
Right.
And they can
Their
hoot
time
and
will come.
holler and
Their
call
time will
or
come.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's somebody that needs to hear what I'm telling you to say.
Right.
This is my story. I want you to share it.
Yeah.
So ever since then, I've just been bold about it.
Yeah.
I go toot my horn everywhere I go.
Why not?
Well,
I mean, there's a big difference in being proud and
Yeah.
being boastful.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, I'm proud of you. I've
Well,
known you a
yeah.
long time. I'm super proud of you.
Well, I'm proud of you guys.
I've known Justin 30 minutes. I'm proud of him. Because you know what? Here's what I think, and it just still just absolutely blows my mind, the timeline of me getting sick, felt sorry for myself for 5 minutes, and realized, you know what? I ain't going out this way.
Yeah.
I ain't going to. Christy deciding going to nursing school. Justin moving back. Gabby going to nursing school.
Because that's how we met. My wife and his wife went to nursing school together.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I thought she was absolutely nuts for going back to nursing school, or going to nursing school. Man, we're 30 something years old, mid 30s, feeding a kid and trying to make sure he's a good dude.
Yeah.
And guess what? Here we are.
Yeah.
because of all that. When you really think about it, like that's what he was, because he was talking.
There's a timeline that I think we all have to, and some of our timelines end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But that's what he was saying. He's like, he said, I was friends with your brother forever. I never even knew he had a brother.
Man, you remember? Yeah, didn't it? Much less a pastor brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like a brother. Like brother.
He a real brother.
That's not a brother. That's a brother.
That's a brother.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing too. Like we've talked about, we've said this time and time and time again, is going back to the 99 and the 1. If what you're doing, if you're doing what you're doing to honor and glorify God, what you said, it's not about me. And I tell people that all the time. I said, matter of fact, I heard John Maxwell say this, and ever since I heard him say it, it's become my thing. John Maxwell said when he was pastoring church, and of course his church blew. It started out with 3 people. His church did. Yeah. And then of course it blew up. It was like one of the top 5 biggest churches in the country. And John Maxwell said, even when it was as big as it was, he would say every Sunday when he would be driving to church, he would always pull over before he got there, and he would always pray, and he would always say to God, "This is not my church. These are not my people. This is your church. These are your people. I'm just, like he was just saying, like, I'm just making myself available. Yeah. You use me and you speak through me, whatever it is that you feel like you need to say, that's become my thing. And so like people come, and I say it too, like people come, man, that was a good message. I'm like, man, I appreciate it. It wasn't me, like it was.
You can tell it's like a switch.
It was all.
You can see his look on his face, and you're like, oh,
it was all God. But that's my point.
The devil told me it sucked.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be real with you.
And that's true. The devil was
about the second step off that stage. He's come up and
man, you fall off that stage too. You get hurt.
That's why I sat down last time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna sit
and the devil was sitting on row 3 about midway down. No, I'm just kidding.
Just waiting on you to mess up.
But
gotcha, sucker.
That's right. But it's one of those things though, like when I think about it now, right? Like, and you think about, all the stuff we do, that we go through, all the time and effort and stuff that we put into, you know what I mean? Like prepping for motorcycle racing and doing, and all the stuff you got to do to do it. Obviously God handles a lot of it. But obviously there's still things you have to do to prepare yourself. You got to be physically fit. You got to be mentally fit. I mean, to do a 24-hour race, I mean, it's not just something anybody can do,
Yeah. And, people say all the time, they're like, man, that's awesome that you did that. But I can't tell you how many times I got up and took off running. Rain, sleet, or snow, I'm running, and spin classes I did, and, just mountain biking and riding and crashing and injuries and stuff and limping along and ice packs. And I've ate more ibuprofen probably than it's actually legal. But all those things, taping stuff, my life together to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's my point is like, when you look at everything, all the time and energy you put into everything. And sometimes, when you look at everything, you're like, man, that's a lot of work just for that. You know what I mean? But then like nowadays I look at it like and I tell people all the time, I said, I don't hide anything in my ministry, and any pastor, that's the problem with preachers today is they don't feel like they can be open. And so they hide everything, they keep everything to themselves. And that's why the suicide rate for pastors has gone through the roof in the recent history, because they have nobody to talk to. And I'm like,
nobody thinks about it. I wouldn't think about that.
Well, because you got to think in most churches, people look to their pastor to have the answers and to do all the stuff.
Well, they think you're perfect.
Right.
You're the next step down from Jesus.
Yeah. You're the vicar. You're the vicar of Christ, basically.
And that's what stops a lot of people from coming to church. They're well, this guy is talking to me. I can't be on his level because he's not lived a life like I had, and that's false. And that's why
what I thought.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's why I'm trying to be open. I tell my stories. I tell my shortcomings, and stuff that I still, like, he said, man, I'm still imperfect. They ain't never been one perfect person that lived. His name was Jesus. That's it. They ain't not been a perfect one since, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, but now, like, sometimes I'll be like, man, you sometimes, in my ministry, like I've thought about throwing in the towel. I'm like, this ain't even worth it. 12 people coming to church. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of time and energy and schoolwork and going to college and doing all this stuff. Just come on, God. You know what I mean?
I'm pouring out.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And but every time that happens for me, that like like that whole Tommy said, like I start feeling sorry for myself for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like God always does something. He always does something. And like
what he does for me?
What?
He'll send a random message.
Yeah.
from a random person.
Oh, little heaven high
that I
five.
don't
Yeah,
that I don't
Yep.
even know
Yeah.
that says, "Hey, listen, what you said
Yeah.
changed my life."
Yeah.
Like I literally was ready to kill myself, and then I read your message or heard your message or one of your videos or something, and I literally just pulled myself together and got on my horse and rode
Yeah.
off, and my life has changed.
And you're like, what?
Well, it's amazing how that happened. Yeah.
And the sad part is, I don't even know what it said.
Yeah.
I can't even.
Oh, yeah.
I can't
Wasn't
even go
you.
back and go, man, what was it?
Yeah.
What did I
Wasn't
actually
you.
say?
Well,
no,
that's
it wasn't.
No,
me.
it wasn't. Well,
wasn't
that's
me.
what I'm saying. Like,
It
because
was God's story.
yeah,
that's what I meant.
Because
It's God's story.
that's what he does to me. The same thing every time it happens. You know, like I was going through one of them deals like that. You know, and with COVID happening, you know, and the way things everything was going or whatever, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, like I'm just trying to hold.
flailing like a fish
Yeah, I'm
here.
just out of water. You
I
know,
remember Christy telling me that Gabby had told her, you know, you were upset because you were preaching to an empty room, but
Yeah.
you know what come out of that empty room?
And that's exactly what I was about to say. You know, so like I'm still,
This
and
fella
I
right
was
here.
still being committed. You know, I was still committed to what
Tom.
God had called me to do.
Yeah.
Regardless of how I felt, because I had to keep telling myself, it's not about you. It's not about how you feel.
No, yeah.
Keep doing whatever God told you to do. And so I did. I kept getting up. I kept studying. I kept preaching. I kept whatever. And out of all that, you
Done
know,
caught a donkey.
come Tommy, you know, and so like, and so now when I look, a lot of times when I start looking, you know, or I find myself drifting into that space where you're like, all right, you know, what are we doing? You know, like, is it worth it? You know, whatever. And then I look around the room and I see the ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, Tommy was the one. I was like, man, I was like, if what I do, you know, and I had to ask myself this question. I say this. I feel like the Holy Spirit was kind of unctioning this question on me. You know, it was like, you know, if that was the only one that you ever led, would that be enough for you? And I was like, oh, wow. That's a heavy question, you know. But, I mean, really,
Did you hear that thunder?
I did.
And the thunder.
That's right. But, you know, really, I did, you know. And I had to get to that point. Right. And I had to get to that point where I was like, you know what? It is. And because here's the deal, like I told Tommy, I said, man, I don't know who you're going to, you know, I don't know who you're going to reach.
That's it.
I don't know what,
Man,
and I
that is
told
it
Tommy
right there.
from the beginning, you know, I told him, I said, man, one day, I said, you're going to share your story. I said, and your story is going to change people's lives. You know, well, just like with you, you know, like when you started living your life for Christ, it started changing people's lives. I told him the same thing. I said, when people start finding out your story and seeing what God's doing in your life,
Man,
I
it's
said,
infectious.
yeah, I said, it's going to change people's
Goodness
lives.
is contagious.
Yeah,
man.
It is.
And we shared the podcast last week, and you know he shared a lot of his story and some of how we met and everything. And he like was messaging me halfway through the week, like, man, this is crazy. I'm getting, you know, like just
Yeah,
the
get
people that he was
messages about-
reaching. And I was like, and here we are again. We're back to the domino effect.
Yeah.
Because of the one leads to another one or two, and then those two lead to another.
And what do they
one or
say?
two, you
Out
know?
of one,
Yeah,
there are many.
that's right.
There's
Get it.
a guy.
It's awesome.
It is. It really is.
it's
but
absolutely
and
awesome.
let me say this. I think that's so important to. Let me circle back around to this. You talked about getting people to understand that if there was a message we could communicate, come as you are. You don't have to clean yourself up. Come as you are, which perfectly correlates with the message I've been saying. Is that I feel like the message God's been trying to that He wants to deliver to people right now. And I'm hearing this from across the country. I had a brother call me a preacher from Tennessee last week, and he listens to my message from this past Sunday. And he's like, "Man, I just had to call you." He's like, "I preached the same exact message on Sunday." He said, "I didn't even know that was what you preached." You know. Then we have another guy that was same
Because
way.
they're all connected.
Yeah, and
they all know each other.
Yeah. Well, he told me, he was like, you know, and he was like, yeah, man, and he was talking to another
Play
brother.
Fortnite at
Yeah,
night.
that's right. But you know, he's like, but everybody's preaching that same message of unity, you know. And I was like, well, obviously that's the message God wants to deliver to people right now, not just this church or that church, but to people. And the only way we can get to a position of unity is if we can get people to understand that, hey, blessed are the poor in spirit. Come as you are.
Yeah.
Because apart from Him, you can do nothing.
And I've heard you say before,
can't.
bring your mess to me.
That's right. You
That's it,
can.
man.
You cannot. If I tell people this all the time, you cannot clean yourself up You can't do it. You can't fix your life. You can't be like, well, when I stop drinking, I'll go to church, or when I stop smoking, I'll go to church, or what? No,
you need to get up.
I don't
from
care
drinking,
if you was in a bar
brush
last
your
night.
teeth, and go.
Yeah.
You're still going to smell like alcohol and cigarettes, and that is totally fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Just get in there and go and watch your life change.
Yeah.
This, whether anybody goes to church from here on out, honestly, for me, is not going to make a difference in my life. Mm-hmm. It's not going to matter.
Yeah.
I'm going to heaven. I have a relationship with God. I talk to him daily. I know him for who he is and how much he loves me.
Yeah.
Obviously, or I would have been gone.
Right.
He has continued to allow me to be a part of this world and give me a beautiful life because of our relationship. But if nobody ever goes to church ever again, it's not going to hurt me. It's not going to hurt me one lick.
Right.
All I want for people is for them to have what I have.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and more.
Yeah.
Because there is
There's a lot of
whole
churches
lot
though
more
that
than
people
what
are
I
scared to
have.
go to, because they smell like cigarettes or they smell like alcohol or stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that are going through that and that go to church and they're condemned for what they're doing wrong.
Right.
I was scared to death to walk in here. I walk in here dressed to the nines, looking like a dime piece, and everybody's in shorts, high fiving me and stuff. And here we go.
Well, that's like I say, because
It's a comfort zone, man.
Yeah,
because those environments that those people find themselves in, and this is kind of one of my things. It really gets me fired up because one of the scriptures, like they like to toss around a lot, Romans 3:23. Well, we've all sinned and we all fall short of the glory of God, and they leave it there. And that's the message that's used to a lot of people. Well, you've sinned and you fall short of the glory of God. I'm like, yeah, but did you read verse 24?
Yeah.
Because the following verse talks about how we've been justified through the actions of Jesus. So there again, yes, have we sinned and fallen short of the glory of God? Absolutely. Why? Because we're not perfect and we can't do it. However, God sent his one and only son to the earth so that through him we could have access to something and that we could be justified, that we can experience sanctification, that we can experience all these things, but not because of us.
Oh, that's it.
Because of him, right? So I need to go to church, not because of me, but because of him. So it doesn't matter what state or condition I'm in at this point. I need him regardless. You know what I mean? And and people that are sitting in church, they need to understand the same exact thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because people are sitting here going, well, and Chris made this statement one time. He was like, he said, what is it about your wine that you think is not as bad as whiskey? You know what I mean?
He did.
And I was like,
That's the truth.
I was like, that's really a good, you know what I mean? I was like, he's got a point. People are like, well, I don't drink alcohol. I just drink wine. And I'm like, what? So you think because the first miracle Jesus ever done was turn water into wine and they drank wine and that kind of stuff that it's not, you know what I mean? I was like, when you become
your cheeseburger in there,
That's what I'm saying.
Your couple extra double cheeseburgers.
Funny story about you remember.
Going back to what I was talking about, if you got one guy over here and he's drinking whiskey every night, and you got one guy over here and he's eating double cheeseburgers every night,
exactly,
and the guy who dies from a massive heart attack from the double cheeseburgers, but the whiskey drinker's still here, who can share God's word?
Yeah,
that's right.
But that's
Eureka.
That's my point, though, is that everybody's like, oh, well,
people still use that word.
Yeah, Eureka.
I'm bringing it back.
That's right.
I like it.
That's right. But that's that point, though. That's that whole point, right? Is that it doesn't matter if you're eating 17 cheeseburgers when you shouldn't, or if you're drinking a bottle of whiskey and you shouldn't,
smoking a carton of cigarettes.
Right. Yeah. Whatever it is, the point is that if it's dominating and controlling your life and you're out of order, that's what I tell you. I said, man, look, I struggle with my weight. I was doing good, started a new job, it threw all my stuff. I came up with all the excuses, and I've gained a lot of weight. That's out of order. If we're really going to classify, what a sin is, you know what I mean?
If you're video gaming all night long, you're no different from the guy who's at the bar all night
long. That's right.
Long.
That's why
you're
he talks
distracted and derailed from your purpose or what God has for you.
And that's why he talks about, being a drunkard and, and that kind of stuff, being gluttonous, many people would consider those things, But that's what I'm saying, if it's controlling and ruling your life, it doesn't matter what it is.
Oh, yeah, no.
It doesn't matter what it is. If it's controlling and ruling your life, then it's a problem,
It's a problem.
But my point is, though, is that you know, we wouldn't tell the video game person like, "Hey, you need to stop playing video games and find Jesus."
Yeah.
You know,
Or the guy who works
but-
excessively.
yeah,
The guy who puts 80 hours
Right.
a week in. We don't say, well, you know, you need to.
hey, you need to stop neglecting your family. You need Jesus. We wouldn't say that, but we find the person that's out there, you know, drinking or whatever, and we're like, oh, we don't want to talk to them people. You know what I mean? Like,
He said a cuss word.
yeah. I mean, I tell people all the
I
time.
don't
said,
because I can talk drinking.
yeah,
I can talk to those people.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, I know that,
Sorry,
but
Mama.
I'm just saying, you know, and that's why I tell people right now. I said, you catch me on the right day, you still gonna hear me cuss.
You know, that's
happens.
that's
I
the
mean,
process.
but, you
that's
know-
the process. That's
Yeah,
that's
right.
being in, you know, the potter's hand, being clay, and,
Yeah.
and allowing him to be involved in your life daily.
Yeah.
And allow him to sculpt and change and shave off and remove
Right.
things and put things in your life that are of value that you desire more than the other.
Yep.
And that's basically how that works. It's the same way, you know, really that the enemy starts,
Yeah.
you know, in the beginning. He starts enticing you with certain
Then it
things.
just
Yeah.
festers.
And then you bite a little of this and you go a little there and you go a little bit of there. And next thing you know, you're engulfed in these different things.
Yeah.
And all they are is things that distract you.
You know what it is too, and like if you think about it, like if you're walking down a smooth path, I mean the rocks. That's why, you know, the whole stumbling block, you know,
Yeah.
that's in there. You know, it talks about being a stumbling block. You know, so it's like walking down a smooth path, you know, and then you start kicking these rocks. That's the little things, and then but before you know it, you know, like, man, there's these big rocks in the way. You know, I'm having to climb over these rocks now.
Yeah,
you know what I
I
mean?
got a message for those
I gotta
guys at
drive
home.
through this desert with these flat tires.
yeah, right. No doubt.
Cactus juice everywhere. Now I got a message for these guys who are sitting in right now and coming up with excuses for not coming to church because of, you know, hypocrite this, hypocrite that.
Oh, yeah.
They're stumbling blocks in the church. They're sitting in
Yeah,
the pews.
absolutely.
They
Yeah,
are. They are hypocrites, and they're waiting to jab you when you get there.
Yeah.
But the problem is we can't defeat them because you guys won't come to church.
That's
Yeah.
it's true, dude. Yeah, that's true.
Hey,
You don't have
preach
enough
on, brother,
courage to
preach it.
come to church and get with like-minded people and give God a chance because
come
you're-
over
you're
and sit in the
scared.
corner with
Because
me.
You're scared.
you know, because a lot of times, you know,
I would.
I'll call you out.
Well, because the miracles and stuff, like when you even look at what Jesus done, the miracles and stuff that Jesus done, he didn't just do it because he was like, man, I think I'm just going to do this.
watch
you know what
this.
I mean? Like but every miracle, it was strategic. You know what I mean? The way he done things, and you know, even John talks about. He said these things were written so that you may believe.
Yeah.
You know, so like when Jesus done the things that he did, you know, like it was all of it was so that people would see and understand. It's the same way, you know. Look at all of our lives. People see us and they're like, wow, look at the change. Look,
Yeah,
man,
you
you're
remember
completely
when?
different. You know,
I'm
and
proud of it.
Yeah,
I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, and but that all goes back to exactly what we're talking about. But see, at some point, you had to have the courage to say, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I want to be a soldier.
Yeah,
For me, I'm being a soldier.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
That's what I feel
Now-
like some
now
days too.
I'm,
I mean,
I'm
yeah.
a
Like,
low
let's get
rank,
it.
ragged one.
Yeah.
But I am a soldier
You're
because
25th.
I'm 25th. I'm literally on a daily, regardless to my actions or what I do, I'm here. I'm God. I'm pro God. I am
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's right.
And I'm proud of it. And I don't stray away from it no matter what.
right. Yeah,
Period.
I don't either
In
anymore.
a discussion.
Yeah.
And you know, he uses people. He takes these old crusty busters and uses them.
Yeah.
You know, here, look at me and Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
uses them, and I'm thankful and proud
Yeah.
to be a
Man,
soldier.
Jesus
for
comes up
Christ.
way more in my conversations, and it's not even a forced thing.
right.
It's just like you talk to somebody random, and like you said, hey, I met this guy in the middle of a desert with a flat tire.
Yeah.
That's, you know, around
Yeah.
here, what I do is, you know, this is my desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey,
that's,
when you
there's
make
certain
yourself
people-
available to it, you will encounter him anywhere. Because, you know, that happened to me one time when I was having another one of those moments where I was, you know, we were at the beach and Gabby and I were talking about, you know, quitting and moving to the beach, you know, and all that. And we were out on the half-mile pier down at Panama City
Yeah.
or whatever it is, the big one, all the way out at the end. 1:30 in the morning, we're down there, me, Gabby, and her mom. There's two guys down there fishing, listening to Toby Mac. And Gabby and I had just went to a Toby Mac concert not too long
So
before
you just
that.
freshed up on
Yeah,
Toby
so
Mac.
I was freshed up on my toes.
Well, I mean, God said it's either Toby Mac or a lightning bolt. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And we're going to go Toby Mac.
I asked, so I just, said something where I think I started singing the song or something, Anyways, I started up conversation with this dude. This joker's from South Africa. South Africa, dude. 1:30 in the morning on a pier, a guy from South Africa begins to read my mail to me, and begins to tell me about how God's called me and talking about the church and talking about all this stuff. And like Gabby was like, oh, what is
He's
that?
from South
She was
Africa too. You know how many great whites that dude had to fight off to get to you?
That's a lot of liquid between
yeah,
here
right,
and there.
yeah. And Gabby was like, "Are we sure that wasn't Jesus? Like, do we need to
Did he walk on water all the way?
Man,
it's
I'm
one
going
of
to tell you
those-
right now.
Or did he
It's
stop
a-
in Miami and
It's one of those
Eat a
deals
taco.
like when you walk off from the situation, like you turn around just to make sure they're still there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is that
yeah.
dude real? So, anyways, all right, I guess we need to start winding her on down. We've been going, about an hour and a half now?
Hour and 29 minutes.
Yeah, right at an hour and a half.
Man,
so.
I could go forever.
Oh, I could too.
mean,
We
I-
could keep
I-
going
I
for a
get to
long
going.
time. Let's just build a campfire. I'm just,
Man, don't be burning up my Facebook table.
I'm gonna burn up your Facebook with this podcast.
I'm talking about my table. Man, we searched for a table, and you know what? That one kept popping up.
It did.
Just randomly. I never followed it or anything. The lady gave me this table,
I like
6
the
chairs for $75.
Yeah,
She's moving to North Carolina.
That's
Sure
a bargain.
Yeah.
it's a bargain.
I said, it's going to my church. She
bargain.
goes, oh, okay.
Yeah, all
And she
right,
was
yeah.
super excited.
Yeah,
Man, I love it.
Lady,
I-
Grant
if you're-
Lowe, what you got going on? Tell everybody real quick.
what I got going on?
Yeah, what's happening next?
Well, I'm going to Texas to race vintage bike, which was an amazing.
is that
That's
the new
the one that
motorcycle
you
you
got?
posted that picture of? You posted that second motorcycle out in front of the church not too long ago. The older
No,
one.
now that's coming up, and that's going to be a Barber vintage bike. So
okay.
that's a street bike, but this is a motocross.
Oh,
vintage.
okay, a motocross fan.
Yeah,
Winners
which is-
take all type situation.
Yes, a completely unbelievable story
That's what
there
I'm talking
too.
about.
That motorcycle showed up in my life at the beginning of Riders Connection. A young kid came in with that bike, and it was spotless. And even at that time, it was 25 years old. And I tried to talk the kid out of it. I was like, man, let me buy it from you. Please don't take this thing into the woods and destroy it. Like, what are you doing? It was like a 69, Corvette out there. He was going to go mud riding in. And he was like, no, that's a family thing. We're going to keep it, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward, over the years, that kid grew up and become a man and was coming in and out of my store. And I was selling him parts for his four-wheeler to hunt. And I'd always ask him about that bike. Like, you still got that bike? I never forgot that dirt bike. And he's like, yeah, I got it, but I don't want to sell it. It's our family's, it's a family member. And anyway, long story short, back in January, was getting ready to race this year and had a wreck, broke my collarbone pretty bad, got it all screwed back together. I was at the gym a few weeks out from surgery trying to get back at it. And he walks up to me, and he's like, hey, man, how you doing? And I was like, hey, buddy, I ain't seen you in a long time. And he said, I'm not really on Facebook, but my wife is, and we've been kind of keeping up with the Mission 44 and what you're doing with those kids. And he's like, man, it's amazing. I commend you on that. And I said, well, thank you. And he said, I was talking to my wife, and I was thinking about it. He's like, you remember that old dirt bike? And I was like, oh, yeah.
Here we
Trust
go.
me. I'll never forget that
She ain't
jewel.
never left
Here
my
we go.
mind.
No, I just start slobbering immediately, every time I think about it. And he was like, do you think you can do anything for those kids with that bike? And I'm like, yes, for sure I can. And he says, well, I'm going to give you my dad's address, and you go out there and get it. It's in his basement. And I was like, well, wait a minute now. How much do you want for this thing? He's like, no, I want to give it to you.
Wow.
So
I see you guys.
I was like, I just immediately was like,
Get them high fives from heaven, man.
I was trying to buy it, but you're going to give it to me?
Yeah.
Like, thank you, guy. I felt like Chris Tucker in that movie, and the money's falling. Like, thank you, God.
It's a rush hour, yeah.
And the only time Chris Tucker will ever come up probably in this podcast until we have him on.
But that's just one more platform.
That's right.
A whole vintage racing series and all that stuff is a whole nother platform of guys that I can speak to.
Wow.
Just open up another door with something that I love.
Come a long way from sitting in a dirty floor consumer, ain't you?
Oh my God. So it's I'm telling you, man, if you're out there and you're struggling to believe that God is real, my life and how it has transpired and the things that I have not even got to share here today.
I'll probably give you a standing invitation if you want to come back another
We'll
time.
literally clear all that up for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look, I know it. I know it.
I can see where you can go. Okay, this dude is physically fit, or this guy is a pretty good guy. He's got a good heart. Good things happen to good people. The whole karma, blah 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 blah, or whatever. But there's too much of it.
Right.
It's just at this point at 43, there is too many amazing things that have happened to be by happenstance.
Right.
It's impossible.
I'm kind of jealous, man. I just started all this stuff. I've been on my journey 2 years.
Man, when you
can't
get in the
wait
top
to see-
25,
Man,
let me tell you.
Look, my goal is to knock you out.
Hey,
that is my goal, to knock you out of the top 25.
Look, Grant gets all excited.
You're getting bumped to 26, boy.
Yeah, that's right.
Coming.
Grant gets excited when people give him motorcycles. I get excited when God gives me Tommies.
That's right.
I'm really excited myself.
I'm pretty good in vintage too.
I'm kind of sitting here figuring out
I got
how
a
I can
1980 model Tommy over there.
1979, my brother.
Oh, 79.
Yeah, man.
Just squeaked in there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, this whole time we've been here, I've been secretly praying that I have a spot at this table.
You do.
You do.
Because I
Look,
totally,
I'm gonna tell you
totally
what.
love
We
this.
record.
Oh, yeah.
We record on Thursdays.
Yeah.
I
You
absolutely
got a spot
love
at this table.
man.
Miss Carriers
Absolutely.
give us her blessing
Yeah.
for Thursdays.
Yeah, because I start college back here in a couple of weeks, so we had to pick a day.
Yeah.
So now we'll just add full-time job, church, podcast, full-time college student.
Well, look,
Let's add it,
when
dude.
I'm good.
when you're having a school issue or something like that, I obviously
Just come let you
Don't
be the
call me.
host.
I can sit here with Tom.
Yeah.
We can,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not.
we
You
can-
think,
we can
if you
shoot
think
Nerf
I'm going
guns
to
at
miss
each
this
other.
podcast, you're crazy.
Look, we'll end it on that, but everybody that's listened to the first episode, I never in a million years would have thought that people would have listened.
Oh, yeah.
And people would have cared.
Yeah.
And people would have reached out. I mean, I'll get teared up, man.
Yeah, I see you getting over there a little misty over there.
Man, God
I about throwed some on you.
God
just a minute
gave
ago
me-
on the old school dirt bike.
God gave me something that man, I know I feel like I didn't deserve it, but you know what? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why not me?
Right. Yeah.
He loves us all on that
Yeah.
level. That's the thing that people have got to understand is no matter how muddy you are, he loves you.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
And he has so much to give you right where you're at.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of going, you know what? Hey, I'm going to give this guy a shot.
That's right.
That's what I
That's-
said.
well, that's
you know,
what-
I mean,
Yeah.
what's it going to hurt?
Jesus
Yeah.
come sit
Write it on
right
paper.
next to you in your truck just as
Yeah.
quick as he'll come sit with one of these church pews next to you.
Well, that's what I
Amen.
tell people all the time. I said, God loves you so much, he'll come right down into the middle of all your mess, but he also loves you enough that he won't leave you there.
That's right.
I said, that's the beautiful
Thank
thing about this
you,
relationship.
God.
You know,
That's
it's like,
24/7 recovery service.
yeah.
All you got to do is call on him.
He'll pull
Am I
you right out of that mud
How
hole.
wrong am I?
You're not wrong. I mean,
That's
that's what I
right.
say.
That's what I
He
like to
loves you
hear.
enough to come to you where you are, but he loves you enough to not leave you there. And like Grant said, thank you, God.
Thank
you know what I
you,
mean?
God.
No
Well,
doubt.
Grant,
So,
we was glad to have you
yeah,
here.
man.
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
We'll
you,
absolutely
thank
be
you.
doing this
So
again.
awesome.
We'll probably,
I love it.
we'll do it again and get into some more stuff. And then at some point get into the Mission 44 so we can hopefully, get that
Yeah.
out there too. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that'd be
We want
great.
people to know about that because I just think it's, it's awesome.
Tell everybody where they can find you. Mission
Yeah,
44.
Mission 44.
So we have an actual Mission 44 Facebook page,
Yeah.
which is really where you get the most up-to-date media stuff. We have a website, m44.org. we actually make sure. So if you donate on Facebook or on our actual website, we actually have it set up so it is secure.
Yeah.
So it is safe. I know a lot of things on Facebook. It's like, don't put your card on Facebook.
Yeah.
No, we pay an outside company that make sure that you're protected and secure, because that was the last thing I wanted to do was ask people for donations
that's a whole
and then them
storm.
go through a train wreck of identity theft or whatever. But either one of those you can, and we have an Instagram too, but the Facebook page and the website's the main source right there, m44.org. And then Mission 44 on Facebook.
Yeah, we'll put it like a link or something. Yeah, that'd be
and
good.
we have some testimonials and things like that where you can actually see, where your money is going and how it's being effective and stuff like that. Yeah. And we basically run off volunteer setup. So we're not some huge organization, that's you're getting 20 cents of your dollars going to them.
Yeah.
The money is going to these families, and it's impactful, and it's been great, and God has blessed it, and it's continuing to grow. So, obviously, we don't want to outrun Him, though.
Right.
Yeah. Like you were saying earlier, if it's just a few families that we help and support and get through a tough, difficult time, then amen, that's good.
Right.
Because those kids that we help, and they grow up, we don't know who they're going to grow up to
That's
be.
right.
That's right.
They may help millions of people.
That's right.
And our job was just to help him or her or whatever. So,
Well, right on. Well, cool. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. Join us again. Don't worry, we'll be having Grant Lowe on again. We'll get more into some more stuff.
So boring.
Yeah, it was
It's terrible.
Today, this evening was no fun. This episode was no good. Don't listen to it.
total wash.
If you made it this far, obviously you've listened to the whole thing.
That's true. Yeah.
But
you
no,
made it this far.
But no, we appreciate you guys, and just keep your eyes out, keep your ears open. We'll be doing this every other week, bi-weekly podcast coming out. Hopefully we can get us. I think we're kind of starting to get into a schedule. We've picked a day, picked times and stuff, so we can make sure we continue pump out stuff for you guys. And we'll continue to have other guests in and do various different things throughout. So we're excited about that. And some of you've asked if we'll be doing any Bible study type stuff. Yes, we will be doing some of that
see
stuff.
you, Derek.
We will be doing some of that
That's
stuff
right,
down the
Derek.
line.
Calling you out, boy.
Yeah, so we'll be doing some Bible study stuff. We'll get into some subjects. If you have, let me just say this, throw this in there too, just for future reference. If you have a question, if you have something that you've read in the Bible that you maybe don't fully understand, or you heard, your pastor talk about some things, maybe you don't fully understand it, shoot us a message.
Yeah, send it to us on
Let us
Facebook.
know what that question is, and then when we get around to doing Bible study stuff, I will kind of work through that, and maybe I can help shed some light on it, maybe help you get a better understanding on some of those things. And so just let us know. But we appreciate you
that'd be
guys tuning in, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
See ya.